comes the airplane.
Пошел нахуй, дал ебаный ебалки, ты, блядь, физик, пидорас, сука, блядь.
Nice job, team.
Look at this dude. Wait till you see the.
Hey, what is going on, guys? My name is Pablo, aka Pablo. Today we are back in Enlisted, and we have another playing guide for you. This is the PE-2-31, or the Piet Petlyakov. I wanted to say that right. Bomber here from the Soviet Union. The PE-2-31 was famed for its speed, agility, and ability to carry out dive bombing raids with precision. With a top speed of about 540 kilometers per hour, which is 335 miles per hour in freedom units, it outran many enemy fighters and actually carried out significant bomb loads of up to 1,200 kilograms. In this game, we only have 600, but in the Soviet tech tree, this is one of the biggest bomb payloads you can bring out there. IL-10 has a 500 payload, same with the I-83. The only other thing that really compares in weight of payload is the SB2M or S2BM. I can't remember what it's called, but that thing is fragile. This thing actually can take a beating, and it has main guns in the front. Between 1940 and 1945, over 11,000 of these were produced, and it earned the title of the most produced bomber in the war. It was crucial in key battles like Stalingrad and Kursk, where Soviet air support periodically played a pivotal role. So this thing is pretty darn cool historically, and as you can see, we get a rear gunner right here, plus 2 side gunners, I guess. There's a guy sitting right here. You can actually see him when, in the replay mod. But if they're, I guess, right next to you, or you turn your plane left or right, you can get these guns on target. But most of the time, this is going to be the one that's going to help you. Moving on. So the PE-2 here has a 12.7 aka 50 cal in the front, and it has 2 of these 7.62s in the front as well. It's not a very good gun, the 7.62, so you're going to be relying on your 50 cal, and this is not a dogfighter. As you can see, guys, the best full turn time is 25 seconds. This is a very slow turning plane, and you're going to have to be using the flaps to gain more turn speed, but at the same time, look at your speed as well. If you go under or close to 200, you're going to stall very easily, and this thing can be very hard to handle. So let's talk about how I equip my players here, my guys, because it actually matters. If you're playing a bomber, I think it's a very, very viable idea to bring them out with some good stuff. I have gone a little bit crazy here because I didn't really know where to put my LED. It's a weird gun, 7.62, 150 round mag, and then some, other crazy premium stuff and event items that I've accumulated over time. I have 3 LEDs on these guys, and what I do this for is when I'm getting shot down, I will parachute out and I will help the team. This is a lot of bullets and a lot of weapons to dish out damage after your bombing runs. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to jump into my guide and how to fly this thing. Heavy bombers. There is an argument to be made that heavy bombers in Enlisted don't really make sense. The only really, really powerful one is the German Ju-188, and it's kind of what you're competing against. This thing sits at BR3, so what you're seeing right now is it's optimal fighting conditions. It's on the Moscow maps. That's where it was, originally from, the Moscow campaign. But I have definitely put this up against BR5 stuff. It can easily take out Tiger 2s and stuff, but we're gonna get into that. The heavy bomber role in Enlisted is very, very difficult to play, but it's also very, very easy sometimes. As you saw in the montage, that 65 kill streak was very, very easily done with 3 bombing runs, basically. I think it was 4, because I got, an extra one with 7, but because of the replay, I just did not want to have too much of that laggy gameplay in there. So I'm going to give a shout out to my friend Saha from the Clan Devils. He helped me out with that kill streak, and when you have a friend that is spotting for you on the ground or in a plane himself, it's very powerful. But your goal as a heavy bomber is to bomb the objectives and try to take out as much infantry as possible. You can basically clear out waves and make sure your enemy can push your team can push the enemy's cap. Or if you're defending, the other way around. The really powerful thing is you have 3 different sets of bombs, so 3 times you can decide where to drop them. If you know your plane well enough, you can actually pull off multiple different tank hits, for example. Right here I was trying that, but yeah. This plane is not very good at taking off again, aka climbing. Once you're diving away, it is super easy to get tunnel visioned, especially in a big plane like this. But I'm going to get into that later. How to aim your bombs. So every plane in Enlisted that has bombs is different to aim with. They all have different diving characteristics, they all have different releases, and also the placement of your bombs. Now you're lucky because the PE-2-31 is all center mounted, so all your bombs come out of the belly of the plane. They don't hang on the wings, like for example the Ju-188. And another thing that's different is you have front mounted guns. We will get into how to dogfight with this and how to do defensive flying, because there's a whole suite of things you need to be able to do to stay alive in this thing. It is very easy to punish. But basically, when you want to bomb something, you should use this line right here. When they disappear behind this line is when you should release your bombs. And I have 2 tanks lined up. There's a Panzer IV-J, who we're going to dump 1 bomb, 2 bombs, and another bomb in the last tank. And we get the first one, the Panzer IV is down, and then we actually also get the Puma. It is as simple as that, guys. You don't even have to think more, because it's pretty much just release as soon as they disappear behind that line beneath your reticle. Now let's talk about the targets that this thing is good at taking out. Obviously infantry is very nice, but you gotta keep in mind these are 100 kilo bombs, not 250 or 200 kilo. But at the same time, they're not small bombs. 100 kilo bombs can take out pretty much anything in this game. I take this to BR5, and I play it mostly in BR5, but I will say this, Gaijin, please add in some other maps for the Soviets, because Berlin gets kind of boring after a while. So if you really want to have fun with this plane, playing it in BR3 and hoping to get into some Moscow maps is really where you're going to have the most fun. And it's where you're going to be most effective as well. The BF-110C7, which is the one we already took out we took him out one time by flying into him and surviving, and we're gonna take him out here as well. But talking about tanks, your best bet is to go, like I said, BR3 and taking out the various Panzer 3s and Panzer 2s and Panzer 4s. There is pretty much nothing that in these tiers of tanks that can resist one of these sets of bombs. So you're dropping 200 kilogram per drop on their face, and that's going to take them out. It can even take out a Tiger 2 if you're really, really precise and lucky and they don't move. But that's the reason why I'm saying the you know, the Predator 2, 3, and 4s are your best targets is because, well, they are not that well armored. These bombs are forged FAB 100 kilograms. I don't know what, I think FAB stands for just explosive, so it's nothing special, but I think forged makes them better just because when looking at the other 100 kilogram bombs in this game, it seems that they're not forged. I think it would be had to do something with their strength. I don't know. They're definitely good bombs, so that's my point. So suitable targets is actually pretty much anything. And what is really nice about the PE-2 is, like I said, it's center mounted bombs, so you can kind of split them off. If you know, have enough time in your dive to actually select targets, you can, you know, precisely drop bombs on one target and then, you know, swap your nose over to another one and drop bombs to that target. But also just dropping everything you have is a secure way of getting the kill. So now we're going to get into diving and climbing. So a bomber has to dive on its target and it has to climb out of the zone to, you know, avoid getting shot down. So many fighters in this game, by the way, what a weird way to die, right? Same, sort of chicken into each other. That's the third time I killed that C7, but GG. The best way to describe the PE-2 is, it is a massive, massive hunk of metal that has huge wings, and it is very, very heavy to get up from a dive again. So what you want to make sure of is that you pull out of your dive in due time. At around 250 meters is really when you should be starting to pull up. And doing dives that exceed 45 degrees in angle is going to be a sure way of you to really hit the ground hard. It's very easy to, you know, destroy yourself and your 3 crew members by doing a too steep of a dive. This is definitely not a level bomber because level bombing is very imprecise, but you want to be not too steep. Because this thing, like I said, is very heavy. You are not going to get out of dive easily. Now, talking about climbing here, your best friend in a bomber, guys, and this is going to come down to tactics of playing a bomber, is staying high and staying alive. The higher you are, the harder it is for some of the enemy fighters to actually spot you, and you're also safe from AA. So the way I usually like to play my PE-2 is by, you know, trying to stay as high as I can, maintaining my energy as much as possible, and pretty much, you know, staying away from all eyes that could be really beyond me. Because the fighters are going to be lower to the ground. They're going to be trying to, you know, drop bombs and stuff like that. They're fast, they're swooping in around. It's fun to play a fighter. So they're not going to be up high in the sky, even though it would benefit them quite a bit. So that's really where your domain should be. This thing is not very good at flying after taking certain hits. If your oil gets punched out and you get a leak, or your water gets a leak, unlike the Ju-188, this thing is really, really bad at flying once it gets those types of hits. It can actually tank quite a bit of damage. The hull itself is quite tanky. As you can see, we're taking hits right now, flying as feverishly as we can to try to avoid taking hits. But the thing is, once you start taking too many of those, it's going to be very, very hard to maintain that altitude and maintain that speed. You really need to get to resupply, get to the point, turn back, because every time you turn this plane, you're bleeding speed. Using your flaps, or forgetting you have your flaps turned on, is a deadly sin, deadly sin in this plane, because you lose speed so fast. So make sure when you're doing your dive that you exceed at least 350 speed, hopefully 400, and make sure you just get, you know, as much of that speed into that turn so you can turn fast and gain altitude. It's really, really about that, maintaining your speed and altitude. So you can see in this gameplay footage right here, I have a leak and my plane is actually beat up pretty bad. I took a hit from the AA, and then I think at this point I decided in the game that, okay, well, enough is enough. I'm not gonna make it out of here. So sometimes, guys, it's also about just cutting it and saying, you know what, I did what I could in this thing, but we got blapped. Alright, let's talk about flaps. So flaps are hugely important in Enlisted. I love this. One of the reasons I love this, you know, flying combat in the game is the first person aspect and the combat flaps and takeoff flaps. All this kind of stuff that they have in War Thunder, we also have here. But I will just say this, War Thunder players cannot comprehend flying in Enlisted, or tanking for that matter. It is so wholly different in playing in first person view. And I'm joking, guys, don't worry. It's just the War Thunder player base, man. It's a funny meme. But flaps in this plane are very, very important. And if you forget that you have your flaps on, you can actually lose potential speed. I had it on in this clip here. but it is super good for turning. The only really flap you should be using in the PE-2 is your combat flaps. And I use it, for example, when I'm turning for my resupply, or when I'm dogfighting. You can feel a noticeable difference if you're trying to dogfight without combat flaps on. If you're just using your flaps up, no flaps activated, you're gonna be having such a hard time to turn, even with BF-110s, ME-410s, Potezes. It is a very slow plane, like I said. 25-second turn time is nothing to play around with. But in this clip, as you can see here, we used our combat flaps, and now we want to take them up so we get that speed back again. Because even though he's pretty stricken down, you know, he will still be able to outpace us somewhat. So another thing is with flaps, like I said, they bleed your speed. Takeoff flaps should not be used at all, and landing flaps, guys, should only be used for landing. I actually have a clip in this video here of me being forced to land pretty much. And funny tip here, my mistake in this clip is I should not have taken that fight. The BF-110s are scary planes, and yeah, they have good rear gunners. So this is actually the landing clip, and this is where flaps are going to be hugely important. So we are flying back to the resupply point. We barely made it here, and you can see our speed now, 200. Look at how the plane is acting. I could barely turn. I could barely even make it to the resupply point. This is what I was talking about with your speed. Once you get to this point, man, you are screwed in the PE-2. That's one of the biggest downsides, in my opinion, to this plane, is the dreadful turning time and the absolutely horrid maneuverability once you get hit. So we're going to activate the landing flaps and the gear down, and we actually do land it, but we catch a fire and we are sliding. We do manage to survive. So yeah, boom, we're hopping out. So as we land here, pilots on ground or not, I am all for, when you're in a bomber with at least 3 people in it, going in with, you know, full loadouts, tons of SMGs, which is what I'm trying to do here, anti-tank mines, explosive packs, flasks so you can run faster. I think it's totally worth it, because you, especially if you're attacking, you're wasting tickets by taking vehicles pretty much. And if you're not doing your best to support the team with your plane, and also after you've been shot down, then I think it's a waste. There is another case when we're talking fighters, but for bombers, I definitely think it is worth it. The PE-2, the Junkers 188, especially the Junkers 188, has a 5-man squad, but this is a PE-2 video. But we do have to compare it to that. But I say yes. If you're a free-to-play player and you are playing, you know, this game with 1 vehicle slot only, maybe this isn't even the plane for you. I will say that it's a hard plane to play. And if you want to play this, I'm not saying you should have the LAT or the Spitalny or any of the OP premium stuff. I've been playing for a long time, so I've accumulated a lot of this. You can get a PPSH from the free tech tree. There's so many good guns. My point being, if you want to, it's very, very efficient to deck out your soldiers and use them as a free paratrooper squad. Dogfighting. Yes, I am laughing a little bit because this is a bomber. This thing should not be dogfighting. But guys, this clip you're about to witness here is what I would like to brag a little bit and say this is what a lot of experience with flying in Enlisted gives you. This is a Potez, and I'm unaware of this at the moment when I'm flying this in this clip. But it's a Potez, a tier 1 bomber who is taking me on. And you know what? I'm not aware of that, so I'm going to take this as the worst threat it could be. It could be a BF-109 K4, and fighters are obviously your biggest threats. So what you want to do is make evasive maneuvers, try to get your rear gunner on target. And what I'm doing here is actually slowing down my plane completely, diving and climbing up steep, and then I'm, you know, rolling over to see if I can find him. And we do find him. And your best defensive maneuver when flying with such a plane like this is slowing completely down, cutting the engine, full flaps, landing flaps, takeoff flaps, whatever, and trying to do a spinny spin so you can see them. They will probably overshoot you, because most players who fly planes in this game, I mean, I'm not trying to be mean here, really not, but I'm saying they're not the most experienced. Most people gravitate towards infantry and tanks because that's what the game is really about. So if you do spend a lot of time in the sky, these are some maneuvers that can really just save you in these big planes. Offensive flying is kind of the same as a fighter, actually, because speed is your best friend. So what I like to do is, if I'm seeing a plane who's diving in, you know, while I am, just like you saw there, I'll just hit them once, and if they go after me, I'll do my best to defensive fly, but I'm not gonna chase people in this plane here. Guys, it's not a dogfighter. The guns are there for, you know, just in case. And you're gonna see most of the clips I have of me taking out planes are really just coincidentally they were in my sights, and, you know, letting them go would be stupid. So let's talk about how to rack up a kill streak, because that's pretty much my last point here. When the clip you're seeing is these 63 kill flawless here. The best way to do a score, guys, is of course you need to wait, because you couldn't have zero deaths without waiting. But once you get into the game, the biggest thing is acquiring targets. And I'm gonna give some pointers here that is universal for all of Enlisted. Tanks and tracers from tanks can at least be seen from 1,000 or 800 meters, around that area. But infantry can only be spotted at 400. That means you have to start looking once you see the 400. Right there we got a huge hit. I think that was actually 20 kills. And the reason I got that many kills is because I'm looking for tracers from the enemy infantry. I am looking for any indications of groups of enemies. The way you do that is, like I said, by looking for tracers. At 400 meters, we get the actual visuals of the infantry, and that's when I will actually literally go close to my screen to look and analyze the, you know, the battlefield down there, and accordingly drop my bombs. If you cannot see your targets, the best way to get hits and infantry kills is by looking at your map and looking at, okay, what direction is the enemy attacking from. There's a huge red arrow that will actually change. It moves around, guys, because it tells you the salient or direction they are spawning in. That is the best way to acquire targets. There's a lot of players in Enlisted that spam, give me targets, need coordinates, need coordinates. It is super easy. Spam the V button, find tanks. An easy way to actually just rack up a ton of infantry kills and get very good at bombing is just to go for tanks. It helps out your team a ton. And most of the time, they are infantry next to these tanks. And if not, you're going to get the crew as well. And it's a ton of XP. Because when you learn to bomb tanks, you can bomb pretty much anything. Another point in here, these guns are actually able to take out APCs pretty easily. So if you see an APC, don't waste your bombs on it. Try to hit it with a couple of 50 cals and it should actually be taken out. I don't know what's up with these Soviet 50 cals, but they hit different. Now let's talk about why would you fly this plane. And I'm coming to that conclusion here at the end, because I'm guessing if you're watching this video, and thank you for watching so far, by the way, you're a champ, appreciate it so much, it's more like a treat, you know. If you're really into bombers and aviation from World War II, you're not just going to play the best fighters, right? You're not just going to play the best attack planes, the IL-10 or the Bf-109, K4, Ju-188. No, you're going to play something that is cool looking. And for me, I think this is a really cool looking plane, and I think it has some quirks and gimmicks that I actually really enjoy. The center mounted bombs, the guns, and decking these guys out with the craziest gear makes it a very weirdly viable build. Now, like I said, if you're a free-to-play player and you have one vehicle slot, and you're not too fussed about flying, you just want a good vehicle, a good plane, then this is not for you. I would just stick with, in the Soviet tech tree, take the IL-10 or the IL-2 1941. It definitely can stack up in BR5. So here we get shot down, guys. The kill streak is going to end for the PE-2 here, but yes, now we can actually get to use our lovely guns. So yeah, this is why I keep, and then this is another reason why I keep these crazy guns on these guys. I want to have a high kill streak. So there's not much else to say in this video, guys. I really hope you learned something, and I hope I touched every subject that was necessary for this video. It's a hard plane to fly, for sure, but it is also a very rewarding plane to fly. It is definitely where I've gotten the highest kill streaks in the Soviet aircraft tech tree. It, in my opinion, stacks up for sure to the Germans, what they have over there. The Germans are better, yes, but this is definitely not bad. And if you are willing to put in some work and learn the PE-2, it can become a very powerful workhorse for you. I have cleared many caps and actually clutched a ton of games because of this plane. And then dropping out, parachuting in, and taking a cap. Exactly what we're doing right now, guys. I'm with my pilots. I'm not in a normal squad. This is my pilot squad. And we actually went on to win this game. So I hope you enjoyed the video. My name has been Bob Loon, aka Pabloon, and I am signing out. Have a great day, guys.